It's the Gamble on Ginter podcast, and we're back.
What is going on?
What is good, guys? How we doing?
Baseball's
I mean, I'm excited. Tomorrow's a national holiday.
It is a national holiday, and it feels a little bit different this year. I feel more excited for it than I have in years past, and we discussed this a little bit. First of all, if it's your first time watching the show, my name is Peter Ginter. I am your host, along with my co-host, Ryan Gabriel, to my left, and our producer, Daniel Amano. We are the Gamble on Ginter podcast. So, yeah, I'm most excited.
Let's give it up.
Oh, let's give it up.
So, another baseball season. It's good to come back for this. It's one of our favorite episodes. We're going to go over each of the 30 teams, give an over-under pick as a show. Me and Ryan are mainly going to be giving you a little bit of analysis of kind of each team and its entirety. So that, we're going to give you some hard-hitting stuff. And let's say we get into a tie-breaking scenario in which me and Ryan disagree. Our producer, Daniel Amano, will be the final vote for the show in which direction we are going to go in. I will say our producer is much more informed on baseball than maybe in previous years. With the amount of knowledge he's learned about prospects through all the card process. Yes. So he knows the people coming up.
Shout out to sports cards.
Shout out sports cards.
And one of the reasons I'm most excited about this season is all the great prospects coming up that are going to start the season at the MLB level. Yes, none of this bullshit that's been going on where, it's service time manipulation, shit like that.
Yeah, they're not doing it anymore.
Best players made their teams, and I'm glad to
I'm so
hear
happy
that.
to see it. It's so good for the sport to have all this young talent that's going to make the opening day roster.
Right. No, definitely agree with that. So we're going to get kickstarted. We're going to go division by division to talk about each team. And the first division we're going to talk about is the AL East. And before the show, we were putting out a flyer out there to people stating, who's going to win it all this year, which, again, baseball's tough, but we always start with this team at the beginning, and it was the favorite amongst our fans. So I turn it over to our producer, who will pick first here. It will be the only time he picks first.
There's only
to
one
talk
pick
about
to make, Peter.
Okay.
There's only one pick to make. 3 words. One place, one team. The greatest dynasty of all time. The New York Yankees. The over-under for them right now is 91.5. Give me 95 because we're going to get up there. All right?
That's a lot.
I'm going 95 and up for the Yankees because I don't have low expectations for my team. We got a big budget, and it's not a hidden fact at this point.
They've had a big budget for a lot of years.
It's
but I think now we're finally getting a grasp on the kind of team we need.
And it's funny that you mentioned a big budget with the Yankees because they were getting outspent by a lot of teams this year. Their biggest new addition that I see is Josh Donaldson and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa.
Well, I was going to say
they acquired them via trade, though.
Well, yes, but they took on those monies, but they didn't. That would be my point. They didn't sign any free agents.
Correct.
For me, Josh Donaldson, great bat, of course. The guy could hit, but I think the biggest one there is, how do you say his name again? I always mess up.
Kiner-Falefa.
I think he's actually a great glove. He's the kind of glove.
I
think that's what we've needed on the field for a while because we've been so bat focused and like, oh, who could hit? We pick up Rizzo, we pick up Joey Gallo, we pick up Giancarlo Stanton, and now we have Aaron Judge coming up throughout the ranks. It's like, yeah, we got hitters, but like, where's the defense at this point? I think he's the kind of player that we've actually been seeking, and I think he's going to be great in pinstripes.
I think he's gonna be. I think he's gonna be okay. He's gonna be. He's gonna be very, very solid defensively. He can play multitude of positions. But his offense just isn't. He's not a Bronx Bomber.
I'm not expecting him to come in and hit. That's what I'm saying. We have hitters.
Right.
We need somebody that's going to go out there and also play defense. Somebody that could be out there for a good amount of those games because obviously we've been injury riddled as well. These big guys that we've been picking up, they come with a lot of risk at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I thought it was nice to see something a little different. It was nice to see them acquire him through trade, because, yeah, we could pay anybody and everybody, and we could probably draw on a good amount of players, but to see them at least making moves to try to maybe save some of that money for a better time, I'm okay with that.
And I think it's really interesting at the 91.5 because this team, again, I think we all agree, kind of underachieved last year. Still
Very
won
much
92
so.
games.
Yeah.
Still won 92 games. Still made the playoffs. And I think one of the key pieces that they get back this year that can't be understated is Luis Severino returning to the rotation. That is
correct.
Now you have what you envision, that 1-2 punch of Garrett Cole and Luis Severino, with still a very, very good back end of the bullpen with a lot of good arms. Again, the rotation as a whole, I'm seeing Nestor Cortez, Jamison Tyone, Jordan Montgomery. I mean, it's a little
It's not really that great. It's really not.
Their farm system is pretty good, and I think they're relatively deep. Some names that didn't make the team for the Yankees this year, Miguel Andujar is in AAA.
But like, he hasn't been great for multiple seasons.
But the point being is they got a little bit of depth, right? And during an 162-game season, you're going to need that depth. So Amano has over. Ryan, what say you?
I'm under. I am under this 91.5 win total. Listen, Severino hasn't been healthy in 2.5 years. Garrett Cole has a tendency to get hurt and hasn't recently.
He's been inconsistent for me too.
After
they did the ban thing,
right,
he fell off entirely.
I just think that this lineup is, Stanton hasn't stayed healthy for a whole season since he's been a Yankee.
Yeah.
They lost over the last year and a half, Gary Sanchez wasn't very much of an offensive factor, but they did lose Gary Sanchez and Gio Urshela in that trade. So hopefully Josh Donaldson
and Luke Voit left.
Luke Voit went to the Padres, correct? So this isn't the same team that they had last year. I just think that the division that they're in is also a very strong division up top. And I think that the Rays and the Blue Jays are going to give them a lot of trouble, and it's going to be hard to win 92 games in this division with the team that they're running out there. They're old. They're getting old.
No. And I definitely see where you're coming from. And again, the big story, I think, is we're leading off with the AL East is how good this division is going to be. It's going to be really, really good. Again, Toronto, Tampa Bay, Boston, these are all 4 teams that could find themselves in the playoffs this year, realistically. And their win totals kind of suggest that. This one was a close one. I like 91.5 is not as much as it was last year. I still think the Yankees have a decent team. I'm going to go just over. So as a show, we're going to go over on the Yankees. I'll be the deciding vote. I know Amano was nervous.
No, I was not.
It was nervous when it came down to it.
I don't give a shit about what you guys say about my Yankees. I think you guys gave them under last year too. And
but we were right.
I think, we were right. Was there over
they were close to 100 games last year.
Oh, okay.
Again,
still 92
we had a different
games
setup coming with this team.
Correct.
But the big difference is, can they stay? Again, I feel like offensively, they have the depth in their system to be able to overcome some injuries to their lineup. Their pitching staff is going to be the huge question. And I think if you're getting a full season of Garrett Cole and you're getting a full season of Luis Severino, who has looked really good this spring training, I think you got a pretty good team. So give me just over on this one. And then the next team we want to talk about, and
I was going to say, you never know if the Yankees call up like Anthony Volpe or someone like that and lightning strikes with that.
Right. Volpe's good.
Yeah, but then he'd have to take over for Kiner Falefa.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a flexible player, like you guys said. He's somebody that could play different
third.
positions.
He's caught a little bit.
He's a catcher.
Yeah.
Like by trade, the dude caught so
I think
many
that's pretty
games
cool
in
if
Texas.
you ask me. If he's that flexible, and then we could put him behind the plate or something.
He doesn't miss a beat. He is the same fielder at each position that he plays. He doesn't miss a beat, whether he's behind the plate, shortstop. He's not a better fielder at any one position. He's just that good. Very good. Very good.
What's the next team?
All right, so we're going to move on to probably, and right now, if you're just looking at over-unders, the favorite for the AL East, and that is the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, they have a really, really interesting team this year. Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I think we can all agree, are absolute stars. George Springer at the top of that lineup is an elite leadoff hitter.
Let's not forget he wasn't very much healthy last year.
Right.
He's going to be fully healthy coming into this season, and he's going to have a full season in a Blue Jays uniform.
But the scary part, and I think this is probably the most frightening part about the Blue Jays, man, just look at that rotation. But they're going to be throwing every 5 days is a problem. Jose Barrios, Kevin Gausman, Hyun-Jin Ryu, Alek Manoah and UC Kikuchi.
It's the best rotation in baseball.
We mentioned Nate Pearson, who's one of the high prospects.
Nate
That's
Pearson
like
would
their
be a
seventh.
6th or 7th starter on this team.
So with this team, I mean, Ryan, again, a lot of teams love them. They are the favorite in the AL East,
As they should be.
If you take the numbers.
As they
what
should
do you
be.
think?
And like you said that you were worried about with the Yankees, it was their starting pitching. That's the least thing that I'm worried about with this team. They are incredibly deep at pitcher. Their lineup is young and very good. Vlad Jr. is going to make a run for the AL MVP this year again. So, and the addition of Matt Chapman over at third base, that's going to be huge for their defense, and he's going to get to play on turf. He's going to be the greatest fielder of all time.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Matt Chapman's never going to make an error.
So I don't think 92.5 wins is nearly enough. Like I thought that 91.5 was too much for the Yankees. I think the Blue Jays are going to win 95 plus wins. Have 95 plus wins this year.
As long as they stay healthy, yeah.
Correct.
They're the team I'm scared of the most in the AL East for sure. I mean, you look at Vlad Jr. immediately, you're like, all right, kid's obviously a superstar.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so what else could you think about when you add all those pieces you just said?
So, and let's not forget, Toronto has a distinct advantage this year at home that no other team has. And that is you got to be vaccinated to get into Canada. And there are some of these players you're talking about. Xander Bogaerts is unvaccinated. He's not going to be able to play 3 series against the Blue Jays when they go into Toronto. That's
Correct.
a huge advantage to not have your starting shortstop for those games. I think Aaron Judge is unvaccinated as well. Imagine the Yankees not having Aaron Judge for 3 series.
Just signed to the Red Sox. Trevor Story can't go to Toronto.
There's a lot of different things that are going Toronto's way. So you're saying over?
I'm saying over 95 wins at least.
Here's why I'm saying under, because I think they are a tiny bit over high. I think they make the playoffs. I think 90 wins is pretty conceivable. My question is their bullpen. Their bullpen's suspect. You know, they got a lot of, you know, I like Jordan Romano. I like Jordan Romano in that role. I think their lineup is going to be great. And they're going to win a lot of games with that. I do worry about the team going on the road, and I do worry about that bullpen in some of the games. And we can't discount how good the rest of that division is. We really can't. And, you know, any given game with the Toronto, I think realistically you could see them winning 90 games. If they get into the playoffs, they're going to be a problem, especially with that rotation. And they have some deepness in that rotation where you can bring them out of the bullpen. Again, they got to do it. They have to do it. They have to prove it.
I'm just confused how you believe the Yankees are going to go over and the Blue Jays are going under.
I think the Yankees
are 1 game
them.
separating.
I think the Yankees are a little bit underrated. I think they're going to be close, but at the same time, I don't think Toronto's
team is not nearly as good as the Blue Jays are.
Toronto gets 85 wins. That's a good season.
No, it's not. That's a failure. Anything less than you spend all this money and you make all these trades to get the team that they're putting out there this year, and you win 85 games, and you think that's a good season.
It's a hot take, but for
that's an awful season for what they're trying to do.
For what the Blue Jays have been in the past,
well, that's not fair. That's not what they're trying to be, though.
All right, I'm gonna be the deciding factor here. All right, I'm definitely going over with these guys. You know, I understand that. I think it's hard to not say that they would go over. I could see where your worries are because, at the end of the day, your bullpen is what's going to help you survive in crunch time.
Not to mention they're playing in Toronto, which is consistently.
Well, I would think because of that,
it's not a pitcher's park.
Well, no, but aside from that, though, the biggest factor you brought up is that unvaccinated players can't go to Toronto.
Right.
That's a huge
I think they're going to have a great home record, but they still got to play on the road.
Well,
81 games.
But those teams, if they can't get enough players to play, they have to forfeit those games. They may get some games.
They're not going to forfeit. There's not enough.
They would have. They would have by MLB rule. There's a rule that literally says it.
They can call up dudes. They're going to be able to call up dudes to come in. It's a distinct. It is an advantage in these particular cases, but I definitely understand why people are getting over. And again, they are one of the favorites. 92 wins is a lot of wins. They get 92 wins, they go under. That's a good season.
I'm not saying it's a bad season.
The Yankees get 91 wins, they go under.
Mm-hmm. Right. But I think you know what? Maybe I'll just go out and say it. I think the Yankees won the division.
I think the
There you
Yankees are in
There you
third
go.
or fourth
Yankees win the
place
division.
by the
What
end of
kind
this
of
season.
meta world, like metaverse, are we in
I-
right now where
it's-
Pete is agreeing that the Yankees
Listen,
are going to win, and I'm here like
The
trying
Yankees
to
are going to be in third or fourth place by the end of the year. They're going to miss the playoffs.
Okay.
I'm in the
Again,
multiverse
we
right now.
will see. I'm glad we have some conflict to begin. Let's move on to one of the more consistent teams, maybe someone we're overlooking for best team in the AL East, and that is the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, the Tampa Bay Rays have been very interesting for the past years because they've done things very differently from the means.
and
They
Wander.
just all they do is they look at numbers and statistics and they create formulas and then they put out it's basically the modern day version of Moneyball,
Right.
is what they're doing. They created the opener.
Mhm.
Instead of a starting pitcher, you run your closer out there, what would be a closer, in the first inning.
Right. And they're both, again, they seem to just they seem to trade guys at the right time. I mean, look at the Blake Snell deal last year and what that
Absolutely.
Tommy Pham, like there's so many examples of them being so organizationally smart with their players. You just saw with Austin Meadows. You know,
They just got rid of him too.
What a deal to get Austin Meadows. That's one of the greatest trades of all time. And then to be able to flip that to get a player like Isaac Pacheco.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they know what they're doing over in the Rays organization, And then you add in the factor of Wander Franco, who could be the next superstar and is getting paid like it for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and then you also should add in Randy Arozarena.
Of course.
For sure.
He's been unbelievable.
And
as
he's
well.
not only great, but he's so clutch. Put him in a high pressure situation and he's coming through every time.
There could be a chance that if Wander, kind of plateaus, Arozarena down the line may potentially be a better hitter or overall player than him.
Right.
I mean, so far he is. We just
At
need to
this
see
moment,
Wander
yeah,
hit
but-
his peak.
But that's the thing is Wander has had less than a full season
Absolutely.
in MLB. I mean, and he already broke a record of Joe DiMaggio's that sat there for 60 years
Yeah,
or so.
we're super excited to see that dude. I can't wait to see him in a full season. In
We
the
haven't even
MLB.
touched the iceberg about other prospects that we're going to be
Correct.
looking into.
Right.
But the Rays, let's get into them because that's definitely. I mean, this whole division, but the Rays specifically. Let's get
So
into that.
I'll start. Again, we've talked about the strength of this division, and I look at this Rays team and I see, they're going to have to do it with different guys this year.
They do it with different guys every
And-
year.
and
They've been surprising us for 3 years in a row now.
Yes, and I understand that, but where I'm seeing, right? Because you have to do the math. Someone has to take a hit this season. If I have the Yankees winning, and I think Toronto is going to be a fantastic team, and I also
You've had
think,
them under.
spoiler alert, I think Boston's going to be very good too.
Well, let's get to it.
So I have the under. I think 89
Well,
wins
we
is a lot of
won't- we
wins.
won't go any
They've gone way over the past couple of years. I think this is a downgrade season. I think
their
roster is not as their roster again. I think they got a pretty good player in Wander Franco. I just don't think they're going to be able to. I don't think they have the same quality of bullpen that they've had in the past few years. I think they take a little bit of a dive this year, but again, they could easily win 85 games. They can win 95 games.
They just figure since the new regime took over, all they've done is figure it out. They've figured out how to win and how to be at the top of that division, even with everything that else, every other team that's been fielded for, let's say, the Red Sox, the Yankees over the last few years.
Mhm.
This team's going over 90 wins. This is going to be the 1 or 2 team in the AL East. It's
Okay.
going to be between them and
Toronto.
the Blue Jays.
Okay. Very good. I like that. So again, we need a tiebreaker. What do you think?
So with the Rays, I do like them, and the last 2 years they've made good runs. Have they really done anything officially? Not really. But I think this year could be a good year for them. They're at 89.5. Last season they got 100 wins. Can I see them going over 89.5? Yeah, I can see them going over 89.5.
Okay, so we have over right
Over.
now. We have
Yeah.
over on all 3 teams. So
Correct.
this is
Hey,
going to be a little bit of a mess.
But it's not hard to see these teams
Right.
do
I
that
can see-
because look at what happened last
Right.
season.
I can legitimately see, again, these lines are tough, right? These are tough. There's going to be some disagreements where I've seen. I took the stance that Toronto is not going to be crazy good like everyone thinks they're going to be. They'll still win. I still think they have the potential to win 85, 90 games this season.
All these teams
here's
could
the,
breach
here's the
90.
thing about you're saying 85 wins for like a good season. That's like 5 or 6 games over 500. That's not a great year.
I mean, look at Toronto's past. Look at Toronto. Like again, I understand.
But has their team ever looked like this in the past?
No, and you're right. You're right on that.
It's not like it's the Mets where every year they have a great team on paper and they never produce.
You're right. It should be their time.
That's because the Mets deserve that.
They do.
Right. Mets are a different story.
They deserve that every time.
Let's move on to Boston because, again, these 4 teams are going to be beating the hell out of each other all season long. Boston's
and
at
Baltimore. Poor Baltimore. God.
Is this a good time to mention that I saw the Red Sox last week lose to pretty much like a half of a prospect team of the Pirates?
Right. Now, I had a comment on that, the Pirates lineup that he sent to me looked like the MLB The Show rosters 6 years in.
Yeah. They had like Matt Frazier, who was the 3rd round pick from this year's draft. They had Nick Gonzalez hitting.
Just no one that you know.
I mean, like for like someone like for like me and like him, of course and you of course too.
We know who these guys are.
We know who these guys are.
It's just like why are they playing?
My buddy who I'm with, he's like who are these guys?
Right,
he knows like Cabrian Hayes. Cabrian Hayes isn't on the lineup, and
and
the only person he pretty much knows is Michael Chavis.
But
oh wow,
Boston Red Sox 85.5, probably the biggest surprise we had last year. We didn't think they were going to be any good at all. They ended up winning 92 games, and if the Rays didn't have their surge at the end, they were leading the AL East. This is a team that can't be slept on. Now, biggest story coming out of camp with them is Chris Sale is going to miss time. He missed time last year.
He misses time.
So this is something that I'm sure they've prepared for in the past. I look at their lineup and I see a ton of improvement when you add in Trevor Story, because what that does is it makes Kike Hernandez, who is a phenomenal utility player, find a position in center field, because he is good enough where he's an everyday player. Find a spot for him.
Yeah,
have a place that he's going to play.
And Verdugo look nice in the outfield.
He's going to. You're talking about Verdugo.
Jackie Bradley
returns in that lineup. He could play some center field. Bobby Dalbec has a season under his
bats. Jaron Duran.
Devers.
I hope Jaron Duran gets called up soon.
He already did get called up. He's already in the rookie.
He's going to be on the.
And we're talking about the bench. Like they're going to score some runs. I don't think there's any question about that. They may be one of the best over teams to take all season long throughout.
Yeah.
Their pitching is the question mark.
Yeah, as it always is. But like Nick Pivetta last year was unbelievable. We just kept looking at each other every time the Red Sox played, and we were like, how the hell is this guy winning games?
Right. And again, the starters don't like Nathan Eovaldi, I think, weirdly enough, has turned himself into a very, very good pitcher.
I mean, he's the
very,
ace.
Very good.
He's the ace as it stands.
And he's the unquestioned ace. Then you have Nick Pivetta, Tanner Houck, Michael Wacha, and Rich Hill. Dick Mountain. And Dick Mountain on that team. Oh, my God. They're going to be in so many over games. And the bullpen never has had, they've always seemed to piece it together, but they're not going to be the top tier. I mean, their projected closer this year is Garrett Whitlock. Good pitcher.
Or Matt Barnes.
You got Matt Barnes as well. I saw Matt Barnes and Garrett Whitlock at the end of games. You got Ryan Brazier. Again, they're not highly touted, yet this team, again, found ways to win last year.
They figure it out.
They found ways. And again, 85.5. Last year, they were probably at around, I think they were about 82, 83. And we took the under on them, and they blew it out of the water.
Yeah, there was a few teams we were just dead wrong on.
So what do you say about the Red Sox this year?
I think that the Red Sox and the Yankees win totals should have been swapped.
Right. Interesting.
I think that they should have been swapped because I think the Red Sox are going to finish I think the Red Sox, this is realistically how I think this is going to go this year. It's going to be very close at the top within a game and a half of Blue Jays and Rays. It's going to be Blue Jays 1, Rays 2, Red Sox 3, Yankees 4, and then the Orioles are going to be in the fucking basement.
Mm-hmm.
I think they go over if you didn't get that by now. 86 wins for this team.
I think we're about to finally agree, but it's not going to be on this pick. Again, 86 wins, I think, is completely attainable for this team. They're going to beat up. I think all these teams are going to beat up on the Orioles, and I think they'll play better within the division. Now, going to Toronto worries me a ton because not having Bogarts or Story, I mean, that's your middle infield. That's going to be a problem
now
when
Jeter
they go
Downs
up there.
Has to get called
now,
up.
Now you're going to have to, do it with a lot of different. Now I like Jeter Downs.
I love Jeter Downs.
You know who actually played for the Red Sox in the game I went to was Nick York. Nick York got a little bit of batting time.
Right.
There you go.
And then
they got a couple of good prospects that could pop on up.
Did CJ Chatham make the team?
No, I think he's playing somewhere else.
Ah,
I think Chatham's
he's
playing somewhere
gone.
else. We may see
Wow.
him. We may see
but
him
they
on
also
this
have
list
like
later.
Tristan Casas and a couple
Oh,
other.
trust
again,
me. Trust me. I'm waiting for him.
I think defensively they're going to be much better. It's a little weird that Story's playing second instead of short. I always thought he was a superior shortstop to Bogarts
For sure.
But
I agree.
defensively, but I guess you Bogart's your star player.
I guess if you think about it in terms of like the outfield, the way the outfield is set up, you don't really need shortstop is very important, but like with the green monster out there, there's not many cutoffs from the shortstop. Like there's not many rallies that the shortstops
it's a good point unless it's hitting to that right center field gap
which
or
is then
anything like that.
the second baseman's
Right.
job.
Right. So
Trevor Story.
all right. So and I'm gonna go over. You have the under.
I have over.
You have over?
Blue
Okay.
Jays.
I was
So-
gonna say over
I'm
as
sorry,
well. So
over
we're-
Red Sox.
We're all on the.
So we're on the same page. We have over technically as a show on all four teams. We'll see. Again, the rest of the AL.
It's gonna flip
It's not
up. It's
this.
gonna
It's
flip
not
up
this.
everywhere else. But it's like when you look at those four teams in that
Right.
one division, you already know what the AL. It's like who's coming out of that
And-
division.
right.
It's basically your immediate thought when it comes to preseason.
And last up, again, I think this is the consensus. If you talk to anyone that thinks Baltimore is going to be anything other than fifth in this division, they'd say you're crazy.
They have exciting players,
They
but
really
like we don't need
do.
to spend a ton of time on this.
They have a lot of potential.
Listen, their top
yeah.
of the order isn't awful.
It's
Cedric
not, but-
Mullins, Ryan Mountcastle, Anthony Santander, Trey Mancini, Austin Hayes.
Well, truth be told,
By the way, Rudnett Odor is a Baltimore Oriole.
Yes,
Did you know
yes,
that?
Yes, I did.
what they need to work on is building up that farm system of their pitching because they have some great pitchers in their system.
I think the pitching staff is the pitching's on their way. They have
Grayson
two-
Rodriguez.
they have
Grayson
two-
Rodriguez is going to be
phenom.
an absolute
They have
stud.
two
Yeah.
of my favorite pitching prospects, I think, in minor league baseball right now. You have Grayson Rodriguez, who I think we'll see this year, and DL Hall.
Yeah,
who
DL
I'm a
Hall
is
huge-
disgusting, too.
I'm a huge fan of his.
And don't
You have
forget they now
Adley-
have the number one prospect in Adley.
Adley's coming up. Adley's coming.
He's just
folks.
hurt. He would have been on this team.
He
This
would have.
team is
He
not.
would have made this team. Their catching situation is just absolutely god awful. Robinson Chirinos is their starting catcher.
Yeah.
It looks like here. But 30th in the league last year in starter ERA, 30th in bullpen ERA.
Their defense is
52
terrible.
wins.
It can only go up from here. But they're going to lose 100 games. So
Yeah.
I'm taking the under.
The
so am I.
Marlins had 15 more wins than the Orioles. Give me the under. on
Yeah,
that.
under
62
under
and a half
60.
games.
I like the way that you're thinking, Pete. 162 games. They will lose 100.
They're going to
games.
lose 100 games. They're
They're
going
gonna go
They,
under.
they don't have the pitching staff right now. Grayson Rodriguez and DL Hall come up, and I think DL Hall is a little bit longer of the way. Grayson Rodriguez,
That kid.
I think he's ready.
He was ready
disgusting.
last year.
I think he's ready.
He was ready last year.
I don't
They
know what they're
didn't wanna-
doing with
Yeah,
him.
with him, it's just a question of when.
Yeah, it's a matter of when with him. He's going to be great once he gets there. And this is a good year to get used to it. But again, they don't have enough. They don't have enough other stuff. Moving on, we're going to move over to the AL Central. So this is one of our favorite teams in baseball because we absolutely are in love with this lineup. I mean, we talk about the Dodgers lineup being insane. They stole someone from the Dodgers, and now all of a sudden,
Wait, are we doing
you look
AL
at-
Central or
yeah,
NL?
AL Central.
AL Central.
We're in the AL.
You
We're
said
going-
the Dodgers.
No. They stole someone from the Dodgers.
and,
Oh,
and the
okay,
Dodgers are in
okay.
the AL West
I
or
was
the
like, this
NL
guy is
West. So yeah.
confused right now.
So they stole someone from the Dodgers and AJ Pollock. This White Sox roster,
oh yeah.
even losing Garrett Crochet, even after trading away Craig Kimbrell, even after losing Joe Kelly's not going to start the season with the team.
Yeah, but he'll be there eventually.
He'll be there eventually, but no Crochet this season, and they traded away Kimbrell in the AJ Pollock deal. But let me just read off this lineup for you. Tim Anderson, Luis Robert, Jose Abreu, Yohan Moncada, Eloy Jimenez, Yasmani Grandal, AJ Pollock, Gavin Sheets, Josh Harrison. Where's the weakness?
Josh Harrison, but who cares?
I
But
would
who
disagree.
cares?
Look at Josh Harrison's numbers last year. He had kind of a resurgence. They don't need he's that
He doesn't
utility
need
guy
to
that
be
can play
great. He
great.
doesn't. That's what I'm saying. Who cares? He doesn't need to be great. Listen to every other name that you just.
Okay,
listed.
so let me list off some of the bench players. Andrew Vaughn, who, by the way, was getting some reps at second base
Well, that
this year.
that's somebody
Lurie
to
Garcia,
keep an eye on.
Adam Engel, Brian Goodwin, Reese McGuire.
Listen, if he can play second base, he's better than Josh Harrison
German
and will
Mercedes.
play over Josh Harrison. That's the end of the discussion.
Sebi Zavil. They have major leaguers all throughout that system.
Ready.
People get hurt. They got people ready to go. The pitching staff, it a little weaker than it was last year, I think. Lance losing Rondon is a big deal.
Yeah.
But
Shout
I
out
think,
Carlos Rondon, by the way. Always pulls.
But I
cards.
think now Michael Kopech moves into the rotation.
Instead of being in the bullpen, he's now a rotation
He's always
piece.
been one of my guys. I thought, man, you give that guy an opportunity, he will take advantage of it.
I think he's going to have a great year this year.
You have Giolito. You have Dylan Cease. Keuchel. I see Vince Velasquez is on this team. That kind of scares me. And that bullpen, again, you have the best closer in baseball statistically last year in Liam Hendricks, who is an absolute psychopath. You added Kendall Graveman.
Yeah.
You have Aaron Bummer as a lefty specialist.
You didn't even. Oh, yeah, you did mention AJ Pollock. I was like,
right.
What?
Ronaldo Lopez. I mean, this team's loaded. 91.5 and the division that we're going to be talking about as at best. I think there's going to be some surprises. That's not enough. White Sox are going over.
Go over.
Yeah.
Don't have to spend much time on that.
Biggest key factor there is Lou Bob. As long as Lou Bob stays healthy, yeah, he may be the AL MVP.
Agreed.
I will make this take. I've made it on Twitter.
You've been waiting to do it like this for
Lewis Robert will win the AL MVP. Mark it down. He will do it once. Will it be this season? There's a lot of good candidates. So to say that right out front, but I'll just say it anyway. Lewis Robert will be the MVP this year, but even if he doesn't win it this year, he's going to be a future AL MVP. So that's that.
All the components are there for this season.
Oh, yeah. Next, we're going to move on to a team that I actually find pretty interesting. Now, there was a lot of turnover with this team, and that's the Minnesota Twins. They were terrible last year, I think, from what we expected from them.
73 wins.
They were... I mean, I think people thought the White Sox were going to win the AL Central. Pretty, if you looked at the talent difference, but I know we thought that the Twins were going to be a pretty good team.
We were dead wrong. That was one of the teams that we were dead wrong on.
We were just wrong. Their pitching didn't show up the way that they needed to, and quite frankly,
did not get much better.
I'm looking at the roster, and I think they're gonna hit. Like at the end of the day, you add Carlos Correa. And I said this, Carlos Correa, I think, is one of the most impactful players in baseball when it comes to winning. You're not going to get much better as a defensive shortstop. They've 100% upgraded that position. Financially, they've put themselves in a much better position by getting rid of Donaldson's contract, and you replace him at third base. You have Giovanni Urshela that you can put right there, and you get a catcher in Gary Sanchez that's been looking for a new home. And I think I've seen him a lot of times play against Minnesota. He kills them. He killed them.
Well, now he doesn't get a chance.
Now he doesn't get a chance to play them, but he gets to play in a stadium at least that he's been comfortable with. I've seen him hit a lot of big bombs in the playoffs in Minnesota. So, and the pitching staff isn't terrible. Again, their ace projected this year is Sonny Gray, who I think that's a good, I think if you're grabbing money, he's not an ace per se.
Right.
I'm very impressed with Joe Ryan.
Yeah.
I think he's actually one of the players that has increased his velocity the most over the offseason. So that's going to be very interesting.
But then it falls off.
Then it's Bailey Ober, Dylan Bundy, Chris Archer, Luis Thorpe.
Randy Dobnak.
The pitching's going to be a problem.
Yeah. It's not a great pen.
Right.
It's not a great pen. It's not a great rotation either.
Well, I like guys like Taylor Rogers. I think George Alcala, a hard throwing righty, is going to come in and be a difference maker for that team. And watch out for Johan Duran when he comes up. I think he's got a chance to start or get some reliever innings.
And Austin Riley should be up at some point this year as well.
Right. This is interesting, Ryan. I want to hear what your thoughts on 81.5 seems high for the talent level that we're seeing, especially at the pitching. So what do you think?
Listen, with what we thought of the team that they had last year, how highly we thought of them, and then to see what happened to them throughout the season. And then they've made some moves. I do, like you said, love that Carlos Correa move. Hopefully Buxton can stay healthy this year because he looked like he was the AL MVP front runner before he got hurt.
Byron Buxton is
looking
a phenomenal
player. 12 home runs in April last year.
He's just got to stay healthy.
So outside of the top outside of Buxton, Correa, I mean, Polanco's great, but like outside of that, I don't trust anyone in that offense. I definitely don't trust their pitching as we saw last year. And I don't think they got much better from what they were throwing out there last year. They lost Barrios. And so I think they're going to go under.
Yeah, I think they're just average to me. I think they're going to be just average. 81 and 81 hits the under in this one. I'm taking the under. And I hate doing it because I think Correa is that much of a difference maker, but you got to improve the pitching. I think Jordan
81 wins improves their team by 6 or 7 wins.
Right. And I think they do get some help in the pitching staff. Jordan Blakovich is going to come up, and he's, I think, someone I really, really like.
He'll be there soon.
Right. So next team, and this is probably the most interesting team where I think there's a lot of value, but you need to look into them a little bit deeper to see what kind of value. And that's the Detroit Tigers.
Yeah, I would like to go first.
Okay.
Listen, one of our favorite prospects of all time is getting the nod starting day.
I think me and
Spencer Torkelson.
Immediately, just to understand, like, obviously, since he was drafted number 1 overall. I remember me showing Ryan videos of Spencer Torkelson at Arizona State and saying, who does he remind you of? First thing he said is Mike Trout.
Mike Trout. This was 3 years ago.
The biggest compliment I think you can give a player swing.
It was unbelievable.
From the right side, what he was doing to balls. And it wasn't always the long ball with him because he could certainly hit home runs, but man, could that dude hit.
Oh, yeah. And listen, Jonathan Scope is one of the best middle infielders. He's been just so consistent for the last 8 years. And I think that he's going to be a huge factor on this team. Austin Meadows, the pickup that Austin Meadows going into that outfield is going to be great for them as well. Javi Baez is their shortstop this year.
I think we're going to see a resurgence.
Javi Baez is their shortstop. Listen, Jamer Candelario has been great the last few seasons.
Good switch hitting third baseman.
But I think the biggest factor for this team that everybody is overlooking is the acquisition of Tucker Barnhart for this young pitching staff. He is a grossly underrated defensive catcher, and he works with these pitching staffs so well.
And don't forget who's calling the shots there. Brad Ausmus.
Correct. And
one of the best coaches in all of baseball.
They have Skubal, Mize, and they've got Matt Manning.
Right.
Matt Manning.
Three guys I've always kind of loved.
Really, really young guys.
Now,
that he's going to help out.
Now, from the look of things, one name that I don't see mentioned, I'm wondering if he's going to be hurt going into this year, Spencer Turnbull, and it turns out he is hurt. You have Michael Pineda, who also is hurt. But again, I'm a big fan of Gregory Soto.
In the back end of the pen.
He's going to be an interesting closer. I think they got an interesting pickup, one of our favorites, MLB The Show guys, and Andrew Chafin for lefties. Michael Fulmer in the setup role, I think, is a lot better for his career. Joe Jimenez is a decent little player as far as pitchers go.
This team, they're at 77.5 wins. That is what? If they go under, that's 4 games under 500.
I think
they're going to go over.
I think the pitching staff is going to improve the team tremendously this year. I think Skubal and Mize take steps up, which is where they need to be. They've got the stuff for it. Give me the over. We've been in agreement now here, right? So now we're starting to get comfortable.
Oh, it's a shocker that the best division in baseball we were kind of all over the place with.
Right. But that's the case. I think all 14 again. If it's an extended playoffs, I think all 4 teams has a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
they all do. Moving on for the first time, we will be analyzing the Cleveland Guardians.
Oh God,
worst goddamn uniforms in the league. Oh my God,
who just re-signed Jose Ramirez?
Right. So Jose Ramirez, and I think he got that just to get the no trade. So now he has all the leverage.
Yeah,
like the deal is team friendly, but it's so that they can move him. Like
correct.
Like. Just because he signs with Cleveland today and gets that money, because I don't think he was getting, the same extension anywhere else, even though he's a phenomenal player.
He's an unbelievable player.
He signed it with a no trade clause so he can choose his next destination. I think that's very smart to take less money and take the no trade clause.
This team is not good. Ugh. Their pitching staff is the best part about them, and their pitching staff has some holes in
Well,
it. But
Shane Bieber is one of Cy Young.
Correct.
And it's how, healthy can they be? Because again,
Yeah,
Savali, Plesac, Tristan McKenzie, these are all good pitchers.
Outside of Jose Ramirez, Franmil Reyes, like who in that lineup scares you? Ahmed Rosario has never been consistently good in his career.
Yeah, and I can tell you as well, their bullpen looks very interesting too. I mean, Emmanuel Clase may be one of the best young closers in all of baseball. Electric stuff, 102 mile an hour cutters. I mean, with that, we got Karinchak, who's starting the season injured, but someone who can definitely pitch. Nick Sandlin pitched good innings for them last year. Anthony Gose, former outfielder.
Gose, yeah.
But
Now,
that lineup.
Here's
That
the thing.
lineup is poo.
This is what I've got. This is the worst team in the American League Central.
Ooh.
This is the worst team in the American League Central.
Yeah, I'd agree. Honestly, that offense, I mean, if I'm looking at it and I'm seeing in the leadoff spot Miles Straw.
Done.
I mean, Miles Straw is a fine player, but he's not a leadoff hitter. He's not.
Who is Yu Chang?
Oh, he's a pretty.
No, he's not.
He was a pretty highly touted prospect back in the day. I mean, he's going to get his chance, play a lot of different positions, but his ceiling's Miguel Rojas.
Their everyday catcher is Austin Hedges. This team
they
is
have
the worst team.
They have
in the
Roberto
Central.
Perez. That's going to be that's a misprint. Roberto Perez, if he's still there, I'm just checking to see if he's injured right now because that doesn't make sense. Unless he got traded and he just shows up on one of the other rosters. They also have Josh Naylor on this team, by the way.
Well, he's coming off that really bad leg injury from
injury.
last year.
Right. I think you're going to see, they're going to be desperate.
They're under 76.
Again, their number one prospect in their system, Nolan Jones, is a third baseman. So now they're trapped, with that position. And he's been in the minor league.
He's been there for a while.
Achieving.
Been there for a while.
The Guardians are going to struggle, and I think they're going to find themselves in the basement. I'm going to take the under as well. We're in full agreement here. This one, I don't know if we'll be in agreement because there's one thing that we will agree about the Kansas City Royals is that Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be a bona fide superstar.
Absolutely. Do you want to go first on this one?
I mean,
I'll go first if you want.
So I think the dynamic of this team is going to be interesting because I think they're going to be a lot like the Twins. They will sneakily score a lot of runs. I mean, their lineup is decent. Whit Merrifield, Bobby Witt Jr., Salvador Perez, Benintendi, Carlos Santana, Dozier, Mondesi, Michael Taylor, Nicky Lopez. Like that's a good MLB lineup.
This team is littered with people who thrive in the on-base percentage category.
Right.
They will be on base. And I don't think Bobby Witt Jr. will be an exception. I think he will fit right into this lineup, especially he'll probably hit one or two. I would imagine two behind Whit Merrifield.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll have probably Benintendi and Dozier behind that. But I think this is going to be, Salvador Perez behind that. This is going to be this is going to be a much better lineup than a 74.5 win team.
My worry is the pitching staff. I don't think they're going to be.
Staff isn't great.
I don't think they're going to be consistent enough to pitch. And again, it's going to be a bad division.
What's going to save them, yes, is the fact that the division isn't that great, as well as their pitching staff isn't wonderful, but they do have the advantage of playing in a pitcher-friendly park.
Right. And they added Amir Garrett. I think that's an interesting addition. Their bullpen's not terrible. I like Barlow. I like Stamot. I like Coar. And I like Tapia. But again, the roster, as much as I think Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be an absolute superstar, and that may be my favorite for Rookie of the Year this season, I don't think it's going to translate to wins right away. So I'm going to take the under. And
that's totally fine.
And I think a part of that, I don't think Cleveland's going to be any good at all. I think the Twins are going to be about a 500 team, a little bit lower than that. I think the Tigers are going to be an over 500 team based on the division that they're playing and the pitching staff that they're throwing out there every night. I think the Royals are going to struggle with offensive teams like the Twins. They're going to be able to play well against teams like the Tigers. The White Sox are going to be a problem to play every year. 74 wins, again, this is a Royals team that hasn't been pretty consistent in that area. I think Bobby Witt Jr. is a difference maker, but it's not this season.
Right.
Mono, finally, get to use you here.
I've been trying to think about it this whole time. I like their lineup. You know, it looks good on paper. I like Witt. I think they go over 74.
You think they go over 74?
I think they go over 74.
And I understand that. Again, that's a pretty decently low win total. So,
Like, I'm just thinking of it like 75. Like,
Right.
I'm not thinking in my head 85 games. I'm thinking like, can they break 74? Yeah, I think they could. do
So
it.
as a show, not our, just to recap you, we have the over in the Yankees, over in Toronto. We have the over in Tampa Bay, under for Boston.
No, we have the over for Boston.
Do we have the over
we
for
had the
Boston?
over
You and
for
I both-
everybody.
So we have
but
all
Baltimore.
4 teams over, Baltimore and under. We have Chicago the over, Minnesota the under, Detroit the over, Cleveland the under, and now we have Kansas City the over. Moving on to the AL West, we have Houston at 91.5 games.
Trash bangers.
Yes, please get that in. You had
Trash
to get that
bangers.
in. Had to get that in.
I'll lead off if you
What,
want.
what do we think about this
I'll lead off
Houston
if you
team?
want.
I'm surprised. I didn't see this on my end as a big deal, but apparently Jeremy Pena is going to make the team.
I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah.
I-
I mean,
I'm
Didn't
not
he have a
surprised by
strong
that
playoff?
either.
he'll probably be starting day one.
Didn't he have a strong playoffs? Like, didn't he play in the playoffs?
I mean,
with
they
them?
just lost Carlos Correa. Who else is going to fill that role?
Yeah, I could have sworn he had. stepped
Well,
up
they
and
had
a
Nico.
strong playoff.
They have Nico Goodrum. So I thought Nico Goodrum would at least, again, Jeremy Pena is a great prospect. I didn't know he was ready.
But you and
Yeah,
I were
he
both
was.
talking the other day. Like, Nico Goodrum's not going to replace Carlos
Oh,
Correa.
of course not. Of course
can't.
not.
I just think that this lineup, from what they ran out last year, this is an anemic lineup compared to what they ran out last year. I can't believe they're getting 91.5 wins.
Well,
And if I had to guess, it has to be because of their incredible bullpen and starting rotation.
well, is Justin Verlander back?
Justin
then I get
Verlander's
it.
back, but like, he's 39, and how healthy is he? So we don't know. We don't exactly know how healthy he is. And like you said, Correa was he translates into wins.
Mhm.
And I think losing him is a huge blow. And I think that they go under 91.5 wins.
It's interesting. It really is with this team because they've been World Series contenders. And then really the conceivable thing that you lose is Carlos Correa, which kind of brings me to my point that Carlos Correa is a huge difference between winning and losing just as a player. I mean, it doesn't matter who you're going to put in. I also have questions about, they have a decent platoon situation with Jake Myers and Chaz McCormick in center field, but it's not an elite center fielder. And Kyle Tucker is fantastic. I think he actually has a breakout season.
I was gonna say people need to look out for him.
But
Yeah,
once you start looking at the depth of this team, they lose a guy, then all of a sudden in the outfield, Lewis Brinson's starting.
right.
Again, I think they're going to be a good team. 90 wins is conceivable. 90 wins is conceivable.
Yeah,
I
the
think they go
question
under.
is
Is 92?
Yeah, I think they go under. Again, 2 wins, it's a big deal, but I think they go under.
Good thing
I
didn't
think
have to do the
Houston.
tiebreaker.
I don't think Houston is as good as they're going to be. Like, I don't put them in the same World Series contention the way that I'm putting Chicago in, the same way that still even taking the under, I'm taking Toronto, putting them in. I don't think they're going to be in that class this year.
Trash bangers.
Trash bangers. So, and yeah, you had the under. I don't need to ask you on
Oh,
that
you
one.
don't have to at all.
Right. As long as it's not a place of bias or anything like
No, it is bias.
that. Okay.
It
very
is
good.
absolute bias.
All right, moving on to what's interesting. This team probably is arguably the top 2 best players in baseball.
I would say
Yet-
yes.
They can't win. They can't win for whatever reason. I do think they bring an interesting team out here, and that is the Los Angeles Angels. Trout hopefully will have a healthy season this year.
Ohtani, same thing.
Ohtani's son, again, he had his first full season. Look what he can do. But again, I have the same question about like Giancarlo Stanton, the same deal. Like, we know what he can do when he's fully healthy.
But when is he ever fully healthy?
There and Shohei Ohtani still got to shake that. As good as he was last year, he's still got to shake that. But I mean, when he's healthy,
And he's gonna play more
understand.
now.
And how about Anthony Rendon? Again, he was hurt last year. That affected that team. Anthony Rendon he wasn't the World Series MVP, but probably the most important offensive player in that
For the
World Series
Nationals,
run
yeah.
for the Nationals. And that includes Juan Soto. who
Correct.
Daniel has as his best player in baseball.
Well,
Did
but that
not
was
say
also 2.5 years ago.
Right. Right. And I'm looking at this team's pitching, and I see improvement, right? I think Reed Detmers is actually a really good prospect. I think the fact that he made the team is good. Shohei, obviously, I mean, if he's playing. Noah Syndergaard.
Yeah.
God, it's going to be weird seeing him in red.
Also
and he
has
seems to
not
have a
seen
chip
him
on his
healthy.
shoulder.
Right.
Also haven't seen him healthy in years.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of questions. They have probably the most consistent closer in baseball last year, Raciel Iglesias, who was absolutely phenomenal. You add Ryan Tepera to that pen.
Yeah.
He's one of the better middle relievers, late inning relievers that you can get. Archie Bradley's an interesting player. Aaron Loop's going to be very good against lefties. But I do have questions about this team. Now the question is, can they get to 84 wins? This is going to be one of the tougher ones.
They haven't shown me anything in the past to make me say that they will. They keep disappointing year after year. There's a reason that they're at 83.5 wins.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think they go over. I really do, because that's what 84 and 80.
Conceivably with this team,
84 and 80 is an over hit. So I think that's definitely doable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, 84 and 80. Yeah, I don't even know what the hell.
So it's 83 and a half. So you're thinking 84 to 87 wins, somewhere in that range.
I think they can do it, but I don't think they're a playoff.
That's
team.
fair. I think the breakout player of the year is going to be Joe Adell. I think he's going to have a phenomenal year.
I was going to say he's the X factor.
I think he's going to have a phenomenal year.
Again, he looked great in spring training.
Again, Brandon Marsh, I think, is a fantastic player as well. David Fletcher is going to make the move to shortstop. They're going to go under. They're going to go under this year. They're eventually going to get hurt. And quite frankly, if you're coming into this year with Tyler Wade as your starting second baseman,
right,
like that's a big hole. And you're pitching, again, Patrick Sandoval is underrated. If Noah Syndergaard's healthy, then you may have an ace. Shohei, he's going to be a great hitter if he's hitting. He's going to be a dominant pitcher if he's pitching. There's days where Shohei comes out, throws 15 pitches, can't throw a strike.
Correct.
It's happened before. He's done it before. So I worry about the injuries. I want this team to be so good because I love Mike Trout. They're going to go under. So next team.
Well,
we need the tiebreaker.
Yeah,
that's right. You said over. What do you think?
I know I keep saying over, but I'm going to go over still with them as long as they're healthy. Like I get
the hardest.
That's
part
really
too,
the biggest factor. Is just as long as they stay healthy. Like, cause even with maybe some holes in the pitching, if they have Mike Trout healthy, if they have Anthony Rendon healthy, if Joe Adell comes out swinging, and you have Ohtani,
Shohei, those should be,
and you talk about like Brandon Marsh being on the lineup,
you should be just over 500. Like at least you should be just over 500.
You should be able to hit 85 wins.
That's where I'm coming from.
If that team stays healthy, if Mike Trout goes down again, all that stuff. Yeah, you question it. Another factor is the fact that Ohtani's going to be able to stay in games even after he's taken out as a pitcher now. Right?
Okay.
He could be a big difference maker in that sense because you never know in one of those games down the late stretch.
Yeah, without having to put him in right field, like they can now just shove him in the DH spot.
And that's the thing is that he could come in the 8th or the 9th and potentially be that hitter that you needed to crack one out the park or to get you a solid hit.
And not only that, but that could set them up to use him in relief roles too if he's ever DHing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. You ready for my hot take of the season? You ready? Are we ready for it?
Probably not going to be shocked by it for some reason.
No, you're not.
Okay.
You're not about to say what I think you're about to say.
So I'm going to say it.
He's going to say it. And I know exactly what he's going to say. And it has to do with the Mariners.
Yeah.
The Seattle Mariners will win the AOS this season.
Yeah. And I'm not even that far behind you because I don't think the Astros are that good. And I don't think the Angels are that good.
I think the Mariners are one of the most underrated teams in the entire
No
American
one's talking
League.
about them.
No one at all.
No one's talking. They're loaded.
Well, what's the biggest thing is you have these great players like Kyle Lewis, Jared Kelenic that came up, within the last couple of years. But who just came up this year?
Oh, J-Rod. J-Rod's here.
The J-Rod show.
It's the J-Rod show. And
that kid is a stud.
Good thing we're sitting at a table because it's hiding my erection.
See, the thing is with him is he's in the category of like a Wander Franco. Mm-hmm. He's a player that could come in and just complete.
I mean, we talked about 3 of them already.
Better, like much better than Wander Franco.
If this kid starts over under 25 home runs, what do you guys think?
If he starts, how many games is he starting? Is he starting 130 games?
I think 25 and 15 is conceivable.
Yeah.
I think it's realistic. But that's the thing. If you watch Julio Rodriguez play, he's got power. That's certainly the case, but he is not a power hitter per se. He does a lot of different things. So again, and I believe in this team because it's one of those teams that's actually really balanced,
Right?
Super balanced. So I don't know. I see Adam Frazier at the top of the order. I see Jesse Winkler. Oh my God, what he's going to do in that park. One of our favorite guys, Eugenio Suarez. You got
Mitch
JP
Haniger.
Crawford. You got JP Crawford. And I think, honestly, they got a ton of guys to call up too.
Yeah, Jesse Winker, though, was a huge addition. Like, a lot of people don't talk about him enough. He had a great season last year.
Oh my goodness. And now you add that.
He was an all-star last year.
You're going to
wasn't he?
be able to set up that young outfield that you're going to have for the rest of time, which is Kyle Lewis. You're going to have Jared Kelenic, and you're going to have Julio Rodriguez. It's time.
Mitch Haniger is going to be an insane trade piece by the end of this year.
And you guys obviously know my little bias when it comes to the Mariners, and I'm not going to, I really don't want to just put it out there on air, but when it comes to the Mariners, this is a team that through their minor league system, they've won chips.
Oh yeah.
These guys are used to winning.
And we're not even talking about the fact that their ace this year is the AL Cy Young winner.
Correct. And they added the AL Cy Young. You add in Logan Gilbert, who may be one of the more improved pitchers in all of baseball. And that I think is a huge deal. Chris Flexen was great last year.
Marco Gonzalez was great last year.
Matt Brash made the team as a starting pitcher. Do not sleep on that. And their bullpen, although they don't have any household names, they put it together last year. They were able to carry it with guys like Paul Sewald. They're my biggest question when it comes to that team. And hopefully Ken Giles will address the back end of the bullpen situation that they have a little bit of trouble with. But it's hard to find a team this balanced.
Yeah.
Well, now's the question. Do they go over?
They go over.
They're going to go over.
They go
over, and they're going to make the playoffs for the first time in how many years?
Since 2001 with Ichiro's rookie season.
It's a deserving franchise.
Right.
Like, honestly, like if there is a franchise that has been ready for this kind of success, it's definitely them.
Well, they've done it, and it's been a long, they've struggled with some of the GM work that's happened where they've been mismanaged. They've made a lot of bad trades over the past 4 to 5 years. DePito has come in and has done a great job of the GM of that team, getting the organization where it needs to be, which is a pipeline for long-term success. And I think it starts this season and it carries on. Moving on to also one of the more improved teams in the league, and they did it with their wallets because damn what they spent on their middle infield. They spent
like $600 million.
They spent $500 million on their middle infield.
They also have one of the top rookies this year.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, Jack Leiter?
Well, no.
Jack Leiter's not going to play this year.
I forgot what his name. I think it's like Yoni Hernandez or something like that.
Yoni Hernandez is good. He's very fast. I don't think he's going to be one of the top rookies, but he's a good player.
Oh, on the lists and all that stuff for top like Inception and stuff, they've been ranking him high up there.
I like Yoni, but again, I like Yoni, but I'm not putting him over some of the other dudes.
Okay.
Right. So that's favorable. But let's look at their team. It looks like Brad Miller is going to lead off for them this season, which is interesting. Obviously, we talked about Corey Seager and Marcus Semien. You have Mitch Garver behind the plate, who is a great offensive catcher, and in that lineup is going to be huge. They've got 2 guys in their lineup that with the last name Calhoun.
Yeah, that's right. Cole Calhoun is now a Ranger, which I think is going to be huge. And Adolis Garcia, I don't know if you mentioned Adolis Garcia, who was an all-star last year. Nathan Lowe had an unbelievable first month and a half, 2 months of the season. I think this team's going to be their win totals at 74.5, which seems really low, but again, it's probably because of their rotation.
Well,
however, they did just add 60. John Gray. They added John Gray to their rotation.
I don't think he's a needle mover.
I don't think so either, but I don't think that they're going to be very, very far under 500.
Right. And my worry with them is going to be their bullpen and their starting rotation. We named 3 teams already. Or this would be the 3rd team that I put in that category of the Twins, the Royals.
Yeah.
And now let's add them. Teams that are going to score a shitload of runs, but ain't going to stop anyone.
Right.
Right. So I think they go over.
I think so.
I think
too.
75 is definitely, they made the
attainable.
upgrades. It's definitely that's definitely we're going to be one of the more interesting teams this year, especially with the additions they made. They need more. They need more.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give them over 74.5.
Perfect.
All right. Next team that we're going to be on is going to be Oakland. And oh my God, what an absolute dumpster fire they had of an offseason.
I don't think, again, this is a team that we don't really need to spend a ton of time on because they're just not going to be worth watching.
Under.
Right. They're not going to be worth watching. Under. Christian Pache is going to be starting day one. Like
68.5
their
wins.
Team batting average is going to be like 210.
Sean Murphy's not going to be hitting 3, is he?
Sean Murphy's their best hitter.
I mean, where else are you going to put him at this point?
This team is terrible.
Like,
this team's going under 70
Should
wins.
he be 3? Like,
Steven Vogt's not your starting
else?
first.
Yeah,
base.
he's not your ideal 3 hitter, but like, you need someone to hit third. Their pitching's terrible.
$33 million is their payroll this season.
I don't even want to bother.
And the thing
and
is,
Ramon Laureano's suspended.
And the thing is with their moves too, like they didn't get a lot of value for some of the players that they got rid of.
They couldn't retain Starling Marte.
I think Matt Olson was fine and dandy and all that, but even in the trade for Bassett, they got jack shit.
I think they just wanted to move these players.
Right. And so right now, Oakland's at 70.5.
I'm under.
Again, this is a team that seems to figure it out. They run Moneyball like crazy. But I don't think it's this year.
No,
I really
not at
don't.
all. And I think they know it's not this year. That's the thing.
Right. Moving on, we are finally in the NL. I know that took a little bit, so we're going to be moving a little bit faster, but still want to make sure we get all the teams in to talk about. And we got to talk about the World Series champion, the Atlanta Braves. So would you agree with my statement that they got better?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you improve your bullpen. You get Kenley Jansen from the Dodgers, and their
bullpen was already good.
Right. And you essentially don't have to, and you improved it. And you essentially don't skip a beat at first base by acquiring Matt Olson. I think Matt Olson's the better defender out of him and Freddie Freeman. And I think that Freddie Freeman is going to get on base more, but I think that Matt Olson will drive in more runs in this lineup.
Right. And the Braves team is very interesting to me because their lineup, I'm looking at their lineup right now without Ronald Acuna Jr.
Right. Who will be,
and it looks formidable. Now you add Ronald Acuna Jr. and it's scary. It's scary to have guys like Duvall, Riley, Matt Olson, Ozzie Albies, Eddie Rosario on the same team.
Ronald Acuna is expected to be activated in the first week of May.
Right. So he's going to be back. And you look at the pitching staff, you've mentioned the bullpen. If there's a weakness on this team, it's probably the back end of that rotation. I mean, Fried, Morton, and Anderson's going to get you through. Oscar Yanoa is going to be all right, but then Kyle Wright is your 5 right now. I mean, I know Soroka is still dealing. Didn't he tear his Achilles twice?
I think so.
That's going to be interesting. So the win total is going to be the interesting one at 90.5.
Someone's got to win this division.
I got to take the over here.
I think so
I like
too.
them.
I think
I like
so too.
them.
You can't just. They didn't get
91 wins is certainly feasible.
They got rid of Jorge Soler, who he was fantastic in the postseason in the World Series.
I got 90.5.
90.5.
Oh, okay. The link you gave me says 91.
All right. Well, then I would still take.
I would still go over.
I would still take the over.
They are still a solid team. Yeah.
Right. By the second week, by the 4th week in the season, they're going to have their best player. This is going to be a 92 plus win team for sure.
All right. Next team we're going to move on to is the other team from New York, the New York Mets. And I think, with the Mets, I want to give you like hard hitting analysis like we've done for every team going on. The Mets are pretty easy though. They're just the Mets.
Can we keep
it short and simple? Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom are both already hurt. Max Scherzer is done for about a week and a half. DeGrom's done for a month.
Yeah, and it could get extended with DeGrom.
Yet. But that's been the story for the Mets for the last 5-6 years. Is they keep bringing out these unbelievable teams on paper, and then no one can stay healthy and no one produces. Right. And I think it's more of the same this year. I don't care that Starling Marte is there. I don't think they got much better.
Last season they had 77 wins. They got to 88 and a half.
I don't think there's a question that the offense is improved. I don't think there's a question what they're bringing out to the field with Nimmo, Marte, Lindor, Pete Alonso, getting Robinson Cano back, Eduardo Escobar.
But what does that even mean?
Mark Canna.
What do we even
James
know about Robinson Cano at this point?
What we know
He
is
lost
Okay.
Conforto.
I mean, then you get back Robinson Cano, who's been, if anything, a great hitter and a great place to put the DH.
I don't even remember the last time I saw Robinson Cano.
But you also have, again, we're talking about a couple of players that they have that we're not even talking about. Dominic Smith, JD Davis, that could fill in that same role.
Eduardo Escobar, they just
which I mentioned. Luis Guillorme, Davey Legend.
Davey Legend, that's right.
They go under.
Again, their pitching staff is phenomenal, but can they stay healthy? And my answer, I believe, is no. So under 90 wins.
They go under. They go under this year. This team I don't necessarily want to gloss over just because I think they got a really, really interesting dynamic, which is that's the Philadelphia Phillies. I think they're going to be a lot of fun this year. They're going to score a lot of runs.
Again, I'll keep it short and simple. They have a great pitching staff. They improved offensively, which is not easy to do.
Mm-hmm.
They got Nick Castellanos. They got Kyle Schwarber. This is going to be an over. Like 85 and a half wins is not enough. This team is going to go over.
I think, again, Familia, it's an addition. But again,
well,
what
also
they had
Corey
last
Nebel.
year,
They got Corey
Nebel is going to be, so you got Brad Hand, you got Jose Alvarado still, so you got good lefties coming out of the pen. Sir Anthony Dominguez comes back healthy. I think it's an over as well. I agree. I think the Phillies are going to have a really good team this year. One of the interesting parts is how bad their defense is going to be. But one of the kids to watch out for this year, watch out, Mickey Moniak, #1 overall pick. Finally making the team 6 home runs in spring. Looks like he's going to start in center field.
Yeah, he was up last year though.
Right, but you have another year under his belt. I mean, he's been a notorious slow starter, but remember, I know it's been a while. We weren't opening up 2015 Bowman, but that was the hot guy to get.
Right, facts.
So I think they're deep. I think their pitching is improved. I think Nola and Zach Wheeler are a great 1-2. They're going to go over. Now, this is the team of our heart. This is our local team, one of the teams we love down here, and that's the Miami Marlins. So
it's the only team we love down here. Who else is
It's
there?
very true.
I mean, there's more Yankee fans than Marlins fans down here. I would debate that.
But we're talking about from our perspective.
All right, well,
look at Ryan's hat.
Okay,
It's
but
facts. It's facts.
okay, but
you're not looking at his hat.
I'm looking at his hat.
No,
I
you're
see
looking
it.
at me.
Look
No,
at it.
I can look.
Look at
again,
it.
Look into the eyes of the Marlins.
I was a pitcher, so I could see out of the side of my eye. I see his hat. Now, here's my question when it comes to the Marlins, right? It's the bullpen. It's 100% the bullpen because their back end is dog crap.
It's
I'm
bad.
going nice.
It's
Dog
bad,
shit.
but our rotation is
Sandy Alcantara.
Good
is
point.
Phenomenal.
And I think that's what's going to end up happening with this team is some of the guys that we have is, you're talking about Max Meyer, Dax Fulton, who I don't
might
think
have to
is
start
gonna be
calling
back.
him up. Put him in the
These
bullpen.
guys are going to be both. I think Max Meyer should be starting and is pretty close to making the team. But you're going to make some decisions on these starters coming back. And we haven't even, again, Sixto Sanchez is a great prospect.
I was going to say
the
maybe
hell-
they
what
look
the
to
hell
move
is-
him to
what
the
is
bullpen.
happening?
I've never
with him.
seen a guy like literally come to camp 3 years straight overweight,
Just always.
just out of shape, completely out of shape. I understand why people are frustrated in the Marlins system because, man, you give up JT Realmuto, who comes out to be one of the best catchers in baseball.
and now we don't even have Jorge Alfaro.
And we don't
either.
have the guy that we had with it, and Jorge Alfaro, which, by the way, looked really good this spring.
Yeah.
Really good if you were watching him play. But again, I think this offense is going to be much improved. Jorge Soler is going to be, he's going to do great.
Yeah.
How many, and I wish the Marlins did this more with Cuban athletes, but they're beloved down here.
Yeah.
Man, people want the Cuban population. And if you know where the Marlins play, it's literally in Little Havana.
Little Havana.
It's literally right there. The Cuban population is looking for a Cuban superstar to rally around. I think Jorge Soler has an incredible season for them. I think their offense, there's a lot of good pieces. I think the most underrated signing is Jacob Stallings.
Yeah.
The best defensive catcher in baseball, some would argue. With that rotation, with Sandy Alcantara, Trevor Rogers, Pablo Lopez, Jesus Luzardo is one of those guys who's had a big uptick in velocity this offseason. I got the over. Again, it may sound
I
homerish.
No,
But
I agree.
I think they can conceivably win 81 games this year. I think they can go 500. I'm not going to go out and say they're a playoff team.
77, 78
too
wins.
many questions in the back end of their bullpen, but they are a team that if you're betting first five, they may be one of the favorite teams to bet this season.
Yeah.
And last but not least is the Washington Nationals. Now, they've got some questions. They definitely do. They're young. They're clearly rebuilding. But they put together, a definitely improved offense. Adding Nelson Cruz to be a DH role is automatically going to increase your offense because you got a guy who can go deep 30, 40 times a year. Doesn't matter. He could be 53. He's going to hit 30 bombs a year.
Yeah.
Juan Soto, if he stays healthy, MVP.
Correct.
He's got MVP potential. He's probably the best pure hitter in baseball right now.
I would not disagree. But yeah, I don't love the product that they're putting out on the field. I don't love their rotation. I don't love their bullpen. They're not gonna win 70 games this year.
I want to see some of the players on this team succeed, but
of course you do. But it's just like there's too many young dudes.
Too many holes in the roster for me to be like.
Maikel Franco, who was literally DFA'd by 2 teams, is their starting third baseman this year.
Right, and again, I think they have interesting players, but like you get into that bullpen. I mean, Steve Cishek is interesting, I guess, but when's the last time he's been really good? Their closer is going to be Kyle Finnegan. They have now, not mentioning Steven Strasburg and Joe Rosser on the IL.
Hurt, like always.
But that's where they live.
Right.
So there's a lot of questions with this team, and I don't think it's enough to go over 71 or to go over 70 to get to 72 wins.
Neither do I.
So we were pretty much in full agreement on the NL East, but if that's a division we watch the most, it's them. Now comes the NL Central, and we have the Milwaukee Brewers, who I am pretty high on this year myself. But I want to get your thoughts on them, Ryan.
Well, I mean, we saw last year the emergence of their pitching staff, which is what carried them through the entire season. I think it was a shocking decline of Christian Yelich that we witnessed over the last few years.
Yeah, but I don't expect that again.
I think he's been hurt, and I think that's what's attributed to it. They added Willie Adames. They added Hunter Renfroe. They added Andrew McCutchen, which I'm not sure how much I love that. And also Rowdy Tellez is going to be playing every day.
Right.
Which I don't know how I feel about that either.
And I mean, I see some other guys that they have. Let me just read off, some of the players that is listed on their bench because they have Jace Peterson as a starter. That's not going to be the case. But Luis Urias, Tyron Taylor, Keston Hiura, Michael Brosseau, Severino just got obviously suspended, so he's not going to be catching for them. But they did just acquire Victor Carterini,
right?
Who's a very good defensive catcher. David Dahl is on that roster. They're deep.
They're deep. They're deep, and again, they're just another one of those teams that just figures out a way to win.
So what do we think? I think they go over. I think they're a 90-win team this year.
Man,
I think Christian Yelich is too good of a player to have the year that they have.
I agree.
And the top, who's got a better top end of the rotation consistently?
Their outfield's going to be really good this year. I think that their rotation is going to carry them through this season as it did last year.
Don't forget about the bullpen. Getting
their
Josh Hader,
great.
Devin Williams. Jesus,
I know. That's what I'm saying. And I think I'm in agreement with you. I think that they'll win closer to 90 games and go over their 88.5 total.
Although it looks like Jose Urania is going to make the roster, so that's
oops.
That's a good oops. Next team that we have for you, the St. Louis Cardinals, a team that always figures it out. Your brother's favorite team.
Last Dance.
That grabbed his favorite player back. I mean,
the Last Dance for real.
How?
That's it.
I think that's one of the most beautiful baseball stories is that these 3 guys started on this team together.
Yeah.
And now they're back for one final season. And I love that the teams they were on made it happen.
And that's, again, first-class organization, the St. Louis Cardinals. I don't think that you can say anything otherwise. The way that they treat their players, the way that they develop their farm system consistently, they're a really, really good organization. They figure out, this is what needs to be done.
Now, let me take this. Let me take this because as good as we think Milwaukee's going to be this year, I'm going to be honest with you. I think that the Cardinals, if they don't win the division, will still be a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the year that every move that they've made is going to come to fruition for them. I think that the Paul Goldschmidt move is going to pay off. The Nolan Arenado move will pay off. I think that their young talent and Dylan Carlson and Nolan Gorman, who's finally going to be on their major league roster, will show out.
I love
and
that's great to hear. That's great to hear that Nolan Gorman made the team too.
And not to mention my NL MVP dark horse, Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah, that's right. You love Tyler O'Neill. We said, MLB The Show ratings go up to 125. He is 126 biceps. He has
best, his
best,
left and right bicep are 126, 126.
Best looking player in a uniform, I think, and I don't think it's a question. But Tyler O'Neill is a beast.
Yeah, I'm very excited for this team. I think that their staff is really good. We saw Wainwright, when he's fully healthy, is still got it.
84.5 is too low. Take the over. This is one of my favorite ones. St. Louis is going to be a playoff team this year, not only because they have a really, really good team, and quite frankly, they need to do it for Pujols. But we're going to talk about the rest of the NL Central, and
which isn't good.
God, it's awful.
Which isn't good.
So we'll kind of
just like skim through these?
We'll speed through them. I kind of want to talk about like the direction of some of these teams, because Chicago, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, no, it's like Chicago just this is one of the teams that I want to gloss over because they're not going to win 76 games.
I think they're very interesting defensively. I think Nico Horner is a really good player and is going to be an elite shortstop defensively this season. But their lineup's not good. Wilson Contreras is going to go somewhere else. They need to, like, their minor league. There's no one coming. There's no one coming to help them.
They might be last in the MLB in home runs. This team will be last in the MLB in home runs.
That'll be an interesting one.
Which is crazy because they play at Wrigley.
Correct.
And I don't know how, like, Jason Hayward's lasted this entire contract somehow. That was like at the time to get the World Series,
because you couldn't move him. He was so bad.
Like, we knew it was a bad contract when they gave it out to him, but he fit the team at the time perfectly. Now you're stuck.
Yeah.
Now you're stuck, and you're seeing the results of giving out a bad contract. And God, this pitching staff, outside of Marcus Stroman, who apparently already wants out, this is going to be the slowest.
He's tweeted multiple times here. He loves it in Chicago.
Yeah, he's also. I've heard other things, but that's fine. This is going to be the slowest throwing, pitching staff in all of baseball. Like. Drew Smiley, Alec Mills, Kyle Hendricks. It's just going to be 88-mile-an-hour fastballs, and that's losing Zach Davies. Like, what are they doing?
I don't want anything to do with them.
I want the direction. I'm going under, and I feel bad for Cubby fans because they were spoiled the last couple of years, but they're good fans. They deserve better. Next team is Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a questionable team. I think again the guys in their lineup are going to hit.
Yeah,
I think there's no question about that. India's a stud.
I think that I think their offense is going to be better than people think. Votto's coming back. Tyler Stevenson's much better than
Tommy Pham was a Cincinnati Red?
I knew that he was. And I think he's going to be great out in left field in the hitter's ballpark of Great American Ballpark. Kyle Farmer's a much better player than people think. Nick Senzel, I think, will be closer to what we thought he was going to be at this point in his career. But also we're going to see Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo for the first time in the major leagues.
Right. And again, their starting rotation, just looking at it, again, I'm very excited for Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo. I think Nick Lodolo is the sleeper there.
He's going to be really good.
But man, who the hell is Riviere St. Martin? I'm sorry. He may be the best pitcher in baseball this year, but I honestly have never heard of him.
I agree. And that's what's worrying me about this team. But I think that they're, again, going to be one of those Royals type teams. And I don't think they're going to put up as many runs as those types of teams.
You think they're going to take advantage of the competition that they play on a weekly basis?
Correct. I think that the division that they're playing in isn't very good at the bottom. Cubs, Pittsburgh, and themselves. But I think that there's also winnable series against Milwaukee in there for Cincinnati as well.
Okay. So you're taking the over on this one.
I'm going to take the over 74.5 wins for Cincinnati.
So they have some depth. I'm looking at their bench: Aquino, Donovan Solano, Aramis Garcia, Jake Fraley. Like, they got some depth on this team. They're not going to pitch.
They're not.
They're not going to pitch. And I think this division as a whole stinks.
You know what? I'm going to change my answer.
I'm taking the under. I'm taking the under.
I'm going to change my answer to
I'm taking
under.
the under. They're going to be really, really bad. And the next team we're going to talk about, and they may win 70 games and be the third best team in this division somehow.
This is where Roberto Perez is. That's where Roberto Perez is.
Okay, well then that's a good upgrade.
So the Guardians are going to be dog shit.
They're going to be dog. The Guardians, I'm so surprised, are at 76.5. They may be the surprise team. They may be the Red Sox this year, because that would be the hugest surprise if they go over that one. The Pirates, though. I don't think it's as bad as it may seem with them, because they're clearly not trying.
Here's the thing. Brian Reynolds will not be a Pirate by the end of this year, and he's the only thing going for them right now. Except for obviously Brian Hayes.
Well, Brian Hayes, I think is interesting. Cole Tucker, I think, is an interesting player that doesn't get, the exact credit.
But he's now moved to right field.
And I do like Roberto Perez. I think he's a phenomenal catcher. They got Vogelbach. That's an interesting
who's going
player.
to play every day.
That kid is a refrigerator.
And let me say this regarding the Pirates. I think we're going to see one of the most improved players in baseball this year in Mitch Keller.
I think so.
He was about 94, 95, struggling with his command. He is throwing about 98, 99 in spring training. He's going to turn a lot of heads.
Oh,
so I think he's going to be someone who's going to end up,
being traded.
Again, well, no, he's got control.
No. I mean, like, the Pirates are in full rebuild mode. Anybody that they can get anybody for, they're going to. I'm telling you, Brian Reynolds will not last till the trade deadline.
Correct, but starting pitchers with control are. Again, I don't understand the Brian Reynolds deal, why they're thinking about trading him, because they've got so much control on him. But Mitch Keller, definitely, if he improves, he's a good player. Okay, but I'm taking the under. This team's going to lose 100 games.
Yeah, they're under as well. Again, I agree. We had them at losing 100 games last year, and I think that they'll repeat again.
All right, we're finally on to the NL West. And there's three really good teams to talk about in this division.
I don't think I want to spend much time, because we all know what's going on with the Dodgers, and they're going to win 100 games this year, which will put them at the over. That is my pick.
Yeah,
we don't need to spend much time on them.
This lineup's stupid.
We understand. This is an all-star team.
It's Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Trey Turner, Max Muncy, Justin Turner, Will Smith.
Complain about the Yankees.
Chris Taylor, Cody Bellinger, and Gavin Lux. And again, they had AJ Pollock. They decided to make their bullpen better. God, they're so good.
Over.
They're so good. They're stupid good. They're going to win 100 games this year. Give me the over on the Dodgers. They should have won the division last year. They got kind of screwed up. They got the unexpected San Francisco Giants. No one saw that coming. But let's move on to San Diego, who I can't believe they didn't make the playoffs
for like a month or so.
I cannot believe they didn't make the playoffs last year.
They're going to be Tatis-less for like a month or so.
Right.
If that's all.
Yeah, it could be longer.
Now,
because it was his wrist.
Broke his wrist.
That's not a good thing.
Here's my question. Do you think with the team that they have currently, are they able to be a factor in, again, the Dodgers are a problem. You're thinking that the Giants are going to be really good too. Can they sustain the time until Tatis comes back to cover?
No,
88.5.
This team
this says 89.5. So definitely
this team is not that good. This team is not that good. I saw what they looked like last year, and that was with Tatis for 125 games. Like, I think he'll play less than that this year.
If this were to tell me like 82.5 games right now, I'd probably say yes.
Yeah.
But this is telling me that they would basically have to hit 90 games. I'm definitely going to say no to 90 games if Tatis is going to be out about the first 2-3 months of the season.
We thought they were going to hit it last year with all the acquisitions that they made and the improvements that they saw on their team, and they didn't come close.
Yeah.
They just completely disappointed.
In a few years, they're going to have a good team when they get all their prospects to actually pan out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, CJ Abrams might be coming up this year,
and
but
he's going to be.
He made the team.
He made the team.
Yeah.
He's somebody that I would definitely keep eye on. If they haven't announced it yet officially, he didn't get announced for the AAA team, so there's only one way to go from there because he was on AAA last season.
I have a ton of questions with the way the organization is being run because I just think they're spending money in places that they can't necessarily afford as a small market franchise. And unfortunately, this is kind of the telltale of the San Diego Padres, where they build up something and then they tear it down really quickly. Having said that, I kind of get the feeling from you that you're going to go under anyway, Amano, on this.
Yeah.
I'm under.
I'm going to take the over.
You think they're going to crack 90 wins?
I think they got a pretty good team even without Tatis, and then you add back Tatis, somewhere in the middle of the season. If they're hanging around that division, and it's probably going to go into the next team we're going to talk about. That kind of is, my reasoning for it. It's a high number, but I think San Diego makes the playoffs this year.
Yeah. All right.
Tough team.
I disagree.
Again, that's a tough team. And again, as
Definitely.
a show, we've got the under. That's why Amano's here. But that, and to produce the show and all that good stuff. But we're going to talk about San Francisco next. And this was the surprise team. We said Boston was the surprise team.
They had 107 wins last year,
we
the
didn't
most
even
in the
we
entire
were just,
MLB.
we were just trying to.
No one saw the
we're-
Giants coming, though.
No.
That's the thing.
But
Not a single person had the Giants
honestly,
anywhere above 3.
Teams
in their
like them
division.
and the Cardinals, those are like the two teams. Like they're like a Spurs kind
Yeah.
of team. Like they know how to really build a very thorough team.
Mhm.
And that's what makes the Giants that much better every single year when they have those kinds of runs. Is that it's like, who is it? You can't really say it's one particular person because everybody's hitting the ball. Everybody's playing great defense.
They got winners on this team.
You lose Kevin Gossman,
Buster Posey retired.
But you gain
Carlos
Rodon. Correct. Logan Webb is another year into the big leagues.
Oh, I think Logan Webb is going to be an all-star this year. I don't have too much questions about that. And again, their bullpen looking pretty decent with Jake McGee, Tyler Rogers, Camilo Doval. They got some good pieces there.
A big loss for them will be Buster Posey,
Mhm.
but that means that we now get to see Joey Bart in
Finally.
in the major leagues for the first time, which is what we've been waiting for.
Here's my thing on them. I think they completely overachieved with their lineup last year. I think they had a lot of veteran guys who had really, really good seasons. They're a good team. And I guess I think that San Diego is going to be better than most people think. That's why I tend to lean on the under on this one. But I imagine you guys are.
But they're 20 games under what they actually won last season.
Right.
86 and a half
right.
here.
Yeah, and that's what
that
I was
goes to
going
my
to say.
point.
107 games. Like, I understand overachieving, like maybe like 5, 6, 7 games even. That was a 100-win team last year.
I don't really.
They're not far off from that.
That was a
same
100-win team. And I don't think that they got much better. I don't think they got much worse. I think that 86 wins is definitely achievable for this team.
Again, I think they have some injuries going into this year, but
I mean, Longoria,
yeah, but
they had a lot of guys
look at the
have
Padres though.
career
You just
years.
gave the Padres the over
with
90
Tatis
games.
being out.
Right.
Tatis is out, and then they have a ton of prospects that need to even develop still.
Right, but I would say that they have a deeper team. The Padres
They have a
deeper
worse pitching
lineup.
staff. They have a worse pitching staff, worse bullpen.
The Padres also didn't win 107
And the
games last
Padres were
season.
terrible last year. Completely.
They weren't terrible.
They completely
they
weren't
underachieved.
terrible. They
But
barely made.
they had
barely
holes,
missed the
though,
playoffs.
without
How much
Tatis
money
when he
did they
was
spend
out.
in the offseason?
I get it. I get it, and that's where I think that they will. That's why I think San Diego is going to rebound a little bit. They're going to come more towards the mean. They should have been a 90-95 win team last year. I think they will, and San Diego is going to come back to earth a little bit. I think again they're good. They're good.
Yeah.
I don't think
But-
San Francisco's bad to the point where they should be 20 games
So,
under what they did
listen,
last year.
perfectly
I
fine
say
to
I'm going with Ryan. I'm
perfectly
going
fine to
over.
disagree there. So next team that we have the last two teams, and we're not going to spend a ton of time on them because they are generally pretty lower teams, which are the Colorado Rockies and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Colorado is interesting because they lose Trevor Story, but they gain Chris Bryant. And they throw a lot of money at him.
And I think that Chris Bryant's swing will translate into Colorado's atmosphere very well. And I think another low-key signing that, he was acquired in a trade, was a 1-for-1 swap of Raimel Tapia, and Randall Grichuk is now going to be the center fielder for the Rockies,
who I love,
who hasn't had less than 22 home runs in a season in the last 5 years.
Who I love.
That's going to go. Randall Grichuk has a chance to have 30 home runs this year playing in Coors.
This is one of the better lineups that I've actually looked at. And they're pitching again. Their starting rotation is not bad. Kyle Freeland, German Marquez, Antonio Senzatella, Austin Gomber, Chad Cole.
Let's just say
I'm
'cause
going
we're
over.
both going. Yeah,
I'm
we're
going
both
over.
going over.
I'm
Yeah,
going over.
They're
This
going to
is
win
a good
70.
team.
They're going to win 70 games.
And lastly, Arizona.
Diamondbacks.
Oh
Under.
my God.
Under. Don't even bother. Under.
So the only interesting part about this team, I think, is Dalton Varsho being a leadoff hitter and possibly going to be catching some games. But they're not good. They're simply not good. Their pitching staff is a little bit improved. Merrill Kelly, Madison Bumgarner, Zach Davis, Zach Gallen, Caleb Smith.
I'm not.
Their
I'm not a
bullpen
fan.
is some of the worst.
I love Ketel Marte. He'll be gone by next year.
Wow, they've got the land of misfits closers there with Mark Melanson and Ian Kennedy.
Yeah. Ketel Marte might not last this year either.
No, he's going to get traded. He's going to get
Yeah,
traded.
it's just they're
he's going to help
tanking.
someone else win.
This is going to be another 100-loss team.
Well, that's it. Thank you for those of you who stayed with us. If you've been watching, thank you very much. Remember to give us a follow, Gamble on Ginter on Twitter. From my producer, Amano, my co-host, Ryan, I'm Peter. Have a great night, everyone.
Peace.